Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're jumping into some really interesting, significant developments within TikTok. Specifically, we're looking at its big e-commerce venture, TikTok Shop, particularly here in the US. We've been digging into a recent TechCrunch report that, well, it sheds some fascinating light on internal changes happening right now. So our mission today, let's unpack these latest shifts and try to figure out what they might signal for, one of social media's most ambitious projects.
Yeah, and what's really striking here is this kind of dual nature of TikTok Shop. I mean, globally, it's been talked about as one of the platform's fastest growing things. But then you look at the U.S., and it's also, well, arguably been its most controversial, definitely its most challenging venture. And like you said, these recent developments, they aren't happening in a vacuum. They follow previous rounds of similar actions. It really does set the stage for us to ask, what's really going on behind the scenes at TikTok? What does it mean for their big e-commerce plans here?
Okay, so let's get into the immediate news first. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, has reportedly cut more employees from its U.S. TikTok Shop team. And we're not talking just one or two people. The report suggests it affects dozens of workers. Internally, this looks like some teams getting merged, others just seeing roles disappear entirely. Wow, that sounds pretty substantial, more than just a typical reshuffle, maybe? I mean,
Right.
considering how much TikTok has sunk into this, how big a deal are dozens of layoffs in their whole U.S. operation? Is it a trim or something deeper?
Well, if you connect the dots,
Hmm.
looking back, it's clear this isn't just a one-off. We've actually seen several rounds of layoffs over the past year or so. And they seem specifically tied to TikTok's struggle, really, to make TikTok Shop profitable.
Yeah.
And, maybe more importantly, to make it actually popular here in the U.S. market. So this latest round, it kind of reinforces those ongoing challenges. It suggests maybe a decisive pruning of operations. Painful, maybe. They're trying to find a way forward that actually works, that's sustainable. It feels like a clear shift,
Yeah.
from just expanding like crazy to maybe a more focused, perhaps more cautious strategy now.
Right. And just for anyone maybe not totally familiar, TikTok Shop is basically an in-app marketplace, right? It lets creators and brands sell stuff directly through the app. You see it in live streams, short videos, and it's huge in Asia, like a massive, thriving business, incredibly integrated into how people shop there. When you see how well it does in places like Indonesia, for example, it really makes the U.S. situation stand out. Such a contrast.
Exactly. And that brings up the key question. Why the difference? Why isn't it working as well here? The U.S. rollout, it's definitely faced some real hurdles. We're talking about a whole mix of things. There's significant regulatory scrutiny, for one. And then there's just, well, kind of lukewarm adoption from American shoppers. They just aren't flocking to it. On the regulatory side, that's not just noise. For e-commerce, it often means specific worries about data privacy. How your payment info, personal details are handled, consumer protection laws, even anti-competitive practice concerns. And all that gets amplified because it's TikTok with the foreign ownership questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have consumer behavior. In Asia, social commerce is, well, it's just normal. People are used to it, often using trusted local payment systems. Here in the U.S., shoppers are generally more used to going to Amazon or other dedicated e-commerce sites. There seems to be a higher bar for trust, maybe, for security with buying stuff inside an app, especially one under constant political fire.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and the company's tried. They've reportedly been offering really aggressive incentives to get people using TikTok Shop here. Think, like
Yeah.
huge discounts, free shipping everywhere. But even with all that, things just haven't quite taken off the way ByteDance obviously hoped they would. It really makes you wonder, is it the product itself, or is the U.S. market just not ready for this kind of shopping yet? Or maybe not from TikTok.
So putting it all together, what's the takeaway? These layoffs. Could they be a pretty strong sign that TikTok is seriously rethinking how it pushes TikTok Shop in the U.S.? Maybe even if it continues pushing so hard. But hang on, couldn't you argue this is just normal business? Optimizing a new venture. Companies restructure all the time to find what works.
That's a fair point, sure. And optimization is definitely part of any new business launch.
Yep.
But I think the consistent nature of these cuts, the scale of them over time, and coupling that with the slow adoption, even with those big incentives, it suggests something more than just routine fine-tuning. Some sources are hinting these cuts are actually part of a bigger plan to streamline things,
Right.
maybe focus resources, capital, on regions where TikTok Shop is doing well, basically shifting money around. But the really crucial thing here, I think, is the potential ripple effect. What does all this mean for the creators? For the small businesses who've actually started relying on TikTok Shop, maybe built it into their strategy?
Yeah.
If TikTok does pull back or even just significantly change how it operates here, could it leave those sellers kind of stranded after
Yeah.
they've put in the time and effort?
Absolutely, that's a huge concern for them. And then you layer on top of all this the ongoing political pressure TikTok is constantly facing in the U.S. That just adds this massive cloud of uncertainty over the company's entire future here, full stop.
Hmm.
For TikTok Shop specifically, it's not just about a potential ban, right? The uncertainty itself probably hurts growth. Brands might get nervous about committing long term if things are up in the air. Creators face unpredictable income. Even hiring people for these e-commerce names must be harder. It all impacts their ability to scale up.
Definitely. It creates headwinds across the board.
It's a dynamic that really goes beyond just simple market adoption challenges.
So looking ahead, yeah, the central theme is just ongoing uncertainty around TikTok Shop's future in the U.S. That seems clear. Will the company find a way to uh, double down, maybe come back with a refined strategy that clicks better with U.S. consumers and regulators?
Hmm.
Or is this actually the beginning of a slow retreat, a quiet backing away from those really ambitious U.S. e-commerce goals? It really remains to be seen. We'll definitely be watching closely.
So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with is this. Given all these repeated challenges, these strategic adjustments we're seeing, what does the evolution of TikTok Shop actually tell us about the bigger picture of e-commerce trying to embed itself within social media platforms? And maybe how quickly can even a global giant like ByteDance really pivot its strategy when it hits the complexities of a market as, well, unique as the U.S.?